quarters and wasn't asked to do a whole lot in that game with the defense dominating. Here's Brian Flores on Tua's situation.
There's a couple of things out there. Let's call it a source close to Dolphins thinking. It's saying that we're auditioning Tua, and I'm just going to tell you about my thinking. We brought Tua here because we believe in him, same as all the other draft picks. We believe in developing players, and I think you guys have heard me talk about the improvement of players on a daily basis. That would be the opposite of giving somebody a 10-game audition.
Mike, Vick back with us. Mike, what do you make of this rumor that the Dolphins are basically giving Tua a 10-game audition here?
Hey, I believe Brian Flores and what he's saying right now. He's a serious dude. I can tell you that. And I believe in what he's saying. This is not a 10-game audition for Tua. I mean, the last thing the Miami Dolphins need to be doing is trying to find another quarterback. It's been 20 years since they found one, and I'll be pulling my hair out if we got to go through the Miami Dolphins and their bad quarterback play another 20 years. So, look, they got the guy. I believe in Brian Flores and his philosophy. I think they're trying to develop Tua for the future.
All right, let me try to explain. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Brandon. I apologize. Go, Brandon.
No, go ahead. No, ahead, because this is your guy. You love Brian Flores. Jump in there.
No. So I love Flores, and I'm very high on Tua. And so I obviously wouldn't do this, but what I wanted to do there was just kind of explain to the audience, because I think a lot of people are confused by this. Like, wait, what? How is this even a story? The reason this is something of a story is because the Dolphins could end up this year with the second pick of the draft. In the ongoing detritus left over from the Bill O'Brien reign of terror in Houston, the Texans' first-round and second-round picks are in Miami this year, and the Texans have the second-worst record in the NFL. They couldn't get the #1 pick because the Jets aren't going to win a game, so they're going to get that one. But you could have the #2 pick and potentially draft Justin Fields or any quarterback other than Trevor Lawrence. That's why this story is out there. But, Brandon, the reason this story is totally illogical is because we have no evidence whatsoever they don't like Tua. They took your guy, Ryan Fitzpatrick, out of the lineup, and it wasn't because of those horrific shorts he was wearing. He wore those afterwards because they like Tua so much. They can win the division, and they went to Tua because of what he's shown them, I would imagine. And so I know we have short leashes in the NFL these days. He has played 6 quarters in the NFL. The leash can't possibly be that short. So I think it's insanity, Brandon.
Well, is it insanity? I don't know, but I'll get to that. But first, let's start with Coach's comments. Coach's comments. Mike, he's sending a message to his players saying, don't listen to the noise. Don't listen to that outside chatter. I am your coach. This is my team. He's also sending a message to ownership and management saying, this is my team. I'm developing my quarterback. We sat down. We put together a plan, and you need to let me execute against my plan. But if we want to have a real conversation in your ownership, right, you got to look at it. You have the Houston pick that could be #2, #3, #4 pick in the draft. You can go get a quarterback. You look at Burrow balling, you look at Herbert balling, and you got this guy on the bench. No, they're probably thinking, let me see who this guy is. Because ownership, they're thinking long term. They got to prepare for the next 5 years, the next 10 years. So you have to see what you have. But on the other side, every guy in that locker room, every guy on that field, players and coaches included, we live day to day. That's what Brian Flores is saying. Is like, I can give a damn about 5 years from now. We live day to day. We need to win now. So I can understand both. I can understand both sides, Wilds.
Okay, Nick, play it out. What if the Jets win a few games? What if the Dolphins have a chance at Trevor Lawrence? What if they don't win a few games and say Sam Darnold's our guy, we're going to go another direction? What if Trevor Lawrence is there? Is there a chance that Tua could get Josh Rosen, especially if he gets outplayed by Burrow, who he plays in Week 13, and then Herbert in Week 10? Did they see enough? They're like, Trevor Lawrence, our guy. We've seen Josh Rosen. Let's try to package Tua. I don't know. It's a weird thing, but it could happen.
I'll answer and I'll kick it to Mike. I would argue if that happens, Trevor Lawrence is such a great prospect. I understand, pardon me, why everyone has to have the conversation. But if I'm Miami, Mike, and people thought I was intentionally tanking last year and I won 5 games, and this year I'm going to win 7, 8, 9 games, maybe even make the playoffs. I have an excellent head coach. I'm building the roster. Assuming Tua is not just an unmitigated disaster, and he won't be. If I end up with the #1 pick because the Texans are an unmitigated disaster, the conversation I'm having in the building, Mike, is can we get the greatest draft bounty since the RG3 trade to supercharge this rebuild? So we have 3 first-round picks over the next few years, additional second-round picks. You already got a bounty from Laramie Tunsil. You got a first-round pick from Minka, which has helped you put you in this position. And whether, by the way, that's what I would be doing if I'm Miami, whether it's the #1 pick or the #4 pick. I would be trying to trade it for a later first-rounder and an additional first-rounder. Mike, they could be in a position where they almost have an extra first-round pick 4 or 5 drafts in a row if they play this right. And that's how you build the team that should take over for New England in the AFC East, Mike.
Yeah, so now that I hear about this more and I'm digesting it, then these 10 games for Tua, the next 10 games do become crucial and critical. But, you know, when you look at how many picks they have and what they can do in the draft moving forward, I think it's extremely important to just build around what you have. And yes, you have the luxury of going out and picking another guy or trading a Tua if it comes down to it, if you don't like what you see. But I think you have to go with what you've seen and what you've been able to put together throughout the draft process. You evaluated Tua, you liked him, you drafted him for a reason, and you build around him from there. You can't be straddling the fence, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You got to go in and you got to go all out and you got to support your guy. I think the quarterback musical chairs just won't be valid right now for this team.
The case for the opposite would be what happened in Arizona last year. They seem real happy with the choice they made moving on from Josh Rosen, but we'll see. On to Sunday's AFC showdown in Indy. Lamar and the Ravens coming off that emotional loss to the Steelers. Lamar turned it over 4 times. They still almost won, if you recall. Colts DN Justin Houston talked about the mindset headed into a matchup with Lamar, saying, respect him, but don't fear him. Mike, back to you. What do you need to see from Lamar Jackson Sunday against the Colts to prove that he's still an MVP caliber quarterback?